Yeah. Welcome to C-Suite Sports. Mike G. Back for another hour. Riding with you this Monday afternoon. Woo! Woo! Oh, yes. All right. Well, hey, it is another fine Monday afternoon. Spring is here, and that's feeling, that's feeling fabulous. Weather's changing, so it's a little bit warm, but it's feeling good overall. I can't complain. I got a lot of problems with it, but the weather isn't really one of them. But we're in the midst of March Madness, and that feels pretty good in terms of an opportunity to see what is kind of the best of the best of college basketball, and really allow the tournament to unfold in its second week, and then we're kind of we're set for the Final Four in Houston, which is fantastic. So, listen, I thank you for joining me once again this afternoon on C-Suite Sports and csuitesports.net. It's your main man, Mike G. We're going to touch upon a little bit of basketball. We've got a few things going on in the NCAA tournament. We're going to talk a little bit of on the field, about the basketball tournament, but not much. Just a couple of players. But more so, as we do in C-Suite Sports, we try to talk about the issues around the game that affect the game, which oftentimes has some things to do with off-field things, off-color things, people's adverse reactions to things. And that could be, coaches, players, owners, the league, etc. So we're going to talk a little bit of NCAA. We are going to talk a little bit of Major League Baseball, for a second, and then we're gonna hit upon a new hashtag. We've got a hashtag. We've got hashtag PBJ. I unleashed a few weeks ago, just to deal with some folks who I really thought just needed it. Really needed the hashtag PBJ, just. Because every once in a while you identify certain sports figures and you just say to yourself, you know what? That person right there, they are a pure breed jackass. That's what they are. So we've come up with the term hashtag PBJ. Well, I've got a new one, and it's going to be called hashtag WCP. And that's World Class Punk. World Class Punk. Because there's a couple of guys out here who are just incredible punks. And I do want to get into a few of those characters as well, and discuss that. And then as always, it seems like as always, and it's a blessing because it is kind of a passion point. But of course, the NFL has made a little bit of news as well, and regarding the CTE issue once again, and where they go with it, and how we continue, or how they continue to fumble this issue, is really kind of incredible to me. And I guess maybe I'll start, I'll kind of start there with the NFL and the CTE issue, because you know, just when you think you're kind of done with it, I mean, I don't want to say when I'm done with it, but it's kind of like, I don't know, maybe this is just going to be the issue that's just going to come up for years and years. Um, because it is the NFL and it's a game that everybody's really, really passionate about. And it's like the national pastime. I mean, forget about baseball being the national pastime. You know, baseball needs somebody to bring a respirator out and tend to it on the field with some paddles. I mean, it's not quite dead, but it's not hot, it's not sexy, it's not fresh, it's not what young kids today are all about in terms of where their real passion is. Um, you know, they are a lot more passionate about sports like basketball and football. And baseball, you know, has spent a lot of time. Baseball knew it was going there a long time ago and spent some resources trying to freshen up the game. Apparently, they didn't spend enough time and resources on freshening up the game yet. And now when you've got kind of the old guard, you know, these guys in baseball who are coming out and saying, hey, you know, that's not the way the game should be played. And guys like Goose, Gossage and, who are like, oh, get off my front yard, get off my front yard. You know, just, hey, you shouldn't be flipping bats, and Joey Bat shouldn't be flipping bats, and Bryce Harper is just a little punk kid, and he's got a runny nose, and he shouldn't wear mousse in his hair, and, and he's disrespectful, and, I'm not like a baseball historian, and I did say I was going to start with the NFL. I'm going to get back to the NFL, but I'm not a baseball historian. But it seems to me that Goose Gossage played in the same era, if my memory serves me correctly, and I'll even defer to Chuck or Nick in the booth if either one of you guys recall from the Yankees. Are either one of you guys Yankees guys from back in the day? Okay, did Goose Gossage not play with Reggie Jackson? Okay, so then it's not just me, because I'm wondering like when I see Goose Gossage taking issue with like Bryce Harper and Joey Bats flipping a bat. I mean, did Reggie Jackson not used to like throw his bat, throw his hat, like have Reggie bars? He was dealing in the stands. I mean, am I missing something? But how was it different? Help me out, Nick. Help me out. How was it different? Oh, okay. Okay, maybe so, because I don't get it. Like I'm saying to myself, like, how can you if you're Goose Gossage, how can you seriously take issue with Joey Bats tossing a bat and Bryce Harper, being a little bit showboaty when Goose Gossage got a ring because he played with Reggie Jackson, who was. No, he wasn't. Yeah, Goose was a showman himself, and Goose. I thought Goose, my recollection is that Goose was known for showing up batters, trying to intimidate people, talking smack to people. And now he's, now he's like the arbiter of, fairness and decency and, what's right and wrong. I don't get it. I don't get it. I was just wondering whether or not it was just me, but okay. Well, I appreciate your perspective, Mr. Nick, and let me know that I'm not crazy. Because I was like, well, wow, maybe maybe it wasn't him. Maybe Thurman Munson wasn't tackling batters when they were upset. With Goose, Munson was like tackling them from behind as they were charging the mound. That's what I thought. But that was my baseball. That was my baseball recollection. But that being said, clearly baseball makes a big deal about all of this stuff, and the rights and the wrongs, and it's generational. It is partially cultural. Cultural, stylish. It's less about culture, I think, in some ways, because I don't think guys flipping bats is unique to Hispanic culture, and I think Goose kind of brought it there, and I don't think that part is is that. I think if you hit a walk-off home run, I think you ought to be able to flip a bat. To me, nothing's crazier than the fact in Major League Baseball that everyone tries to act like it's right, that if a pitcher gets mad at you, he can just throw an object at your head at 100 miles an hour. Like in any other form of anything in life, that really can't be done. You really can't just throw something at somebody's head at 100 miles an hour because you get mad at them. So I don't really understand how baseball allows that to be, quote unquote, the policing of the game. But be that as it may. But so that's kind of that's kind of, you know, baseball's approach to policing and whatnot. But coming back to the NFL, which is where I originally started with this whole CTE thing as America's pastime, it turns out this past week that now the NFL is kind of, you know, I feel like I've covered this a number of weeks, and now into a couple of years now. As far as where, you know, the CTE issue and the personal onus and responsibility that one has to take for playing the sport themselves, knowing that there are some inherent risks. I think that that's a part of it. I think that the NFL has already acknowledged, and they've already paid out $775 million for injuries. I think the new, you know, the new thing that came out this past week after they did the double clutch or triple clutch last week with Congress, when they said, oh, well, we didn't know about it, but we did know about it. But if we knew about it, we didn't know about it that way because we thought it was that. You know, after they did the whole, you know, Bojangle thing in front of Congress, now this past week, it turns out that now they're saying that although they paid out the $775 million, that they actually withheld certain information from the reports and from the studies that would have been even more damning than the information that was put in the studies that triggered the $775 million payout, including some select people like, you know, like Sayao and Duerson and a few others who were the actual guys who, you know, who committed suicide. How they justified leaving them out of the study, you know, it's difficult to fathom how this thing continues to get more and more legs, and it's, you know, it's like a lot of things, like the cover up is worse than the story itself after a while. I mean, I would just like to believe at some point that CTE in football is going to become a little bit like cigarette smoking. Like at this point, if you don't get it, if you can honestly stand up and say, "Oh, really? I had no idea that cigarettes were bad for me. I had no idea. I mean, are you serious? You know, if you're going to start clutching your pearls and acting like you had no idea that that cigarette smoke would be bad for your lungs. Really, guys, I didn't know. That's kind of like where I am with football. I mean, and that's not to be damning of the sport. I love the sport. I played. I got hurt. I got some bumps, some bruises. I got some injuries. I got some cricks. I got some stuff that doesn't feel so great every day. But I still love the game. I still love to watch. I'm still extremely passionate about it. And I think that's where most folks are. And, you know, I think at a certain point we've got to say, we've got to get to a point with the NFL and this whole CTE issue where there are risks. There are risks in a lot of jobs, like I talked about last week. There's risk in being a coal miner. There's risk in working on offshore, you know, oil drills. There's risk in working in nuclear power plants. There's risk in a lot of different jobs. There's risk in being a garbage man, a mailman. Right on my street here that I live on, literally, there was a garbage man killed about a decade ago. A garbage man killed. Just, is it dangerous? Yeah, I guess it's kind of dangerous. You're in traffic and in the flow, and somebody, a passing car hit a garbage man, and the sanitation worker lost his life. So, I mean, there's a lot of jobs that you could say are potentially dangerous. Pizza delivery man, that might be dangerous. Wrong neighborhood could be a problem. Cab driver might be a problem. A lot of different jobs could be a problem. I just think that we've got to say at a certain point, we've got to just say to ourselves, you know what? We love football, and those who play might get hurt. It's kind of like smoking cigarettes. Some people, although they read all the warnings, still want to smoke cigarettes, and they're still sold at the store. So somebody's going to get hurt. People are inevitably going to get hurt because of cigarette smoke.